Vipul Badani is an accomplished CEO and managing director with a remarkable career in the import and export industry. His professional journey reflects over 4 decades of dedicated leadership and expertise. With a strong background in negotiation, business planning, business development, global networking, and marketing strategy, Mr. Badani has consistently demonstrated a result-oriented approach in his career. His leadership journey has been marked by significant roles in various organizations and most notably as the CEO and Managing Director of Qualiance International Private Limited for 29 years. Under his leadership, Qualiance International has thrived in the manufacturing of high-performance woven and knitted garments. Furthermore, he has expanded the company's product portfolio, maintained a focus on sustainable practices, and embraced technological advancements. Mr. Badani's insights and accomplishments make him a valuable figure in the import and export industry. Well, thank you, Vipul, for sparing your time with us for this interview today.
Thank you for that grand introduction. I never knew what I really am.
Well, I think you deserved every word of it.
Yeah. The point is, very seldom I realize that, 4 decades almost in the industry, it's quite a long time.
Quite a long time, yes. So you've always been an entrepreneur right from the start?
No, actually not. So when I started my journey, I joined a job. I finished my textile graduation, rather a diploma in textile technology, and then I was looking out for job. This is in early 80s, and for quite some time I did not find a job. Right. So surprisingly, I started a job selling kitchen appliances.
Oh, interesting.
And a friend of mine then introduced me to the wonderful world of garment industry. Right. And I got my first job that time. And then I worked for that company for about 10 years. Right. And then the rest is Qualiance, of course.
Of course, absolutely. So back in the 80s, when it was the start of your career, what was the atmosphere like, even to get a job for that matter?
See, what really happened in 80s is, first of all, I had no intention of doing textile technology.
Right.
But like parents say, doctor banja, engineer banja, CA banja. Right. I did not qualify to become one of that. So then Sashmira was very next door to my house. I joined a technological course thinking that would be better than being a graduate. Okay. I had no idea about where it can lead to. Right. One of the first thoughts when you graduate from that industry is you join a mill which is making fabric, which is making processing of fabrics and things like that. But I had no idea about what else it can be doing, right, like getting into the garment industry. Fortunately, a friend of mine was in the industry and he found a job of a quality controller for me in the industry. Okay. So that's how my journey started. Right. And then, of course, from quality control to I became a lot many other things later on.
Right. Interesting. So now a long journey, right? Could you share some insights into the challenges you faced when you first entered the industry and how you overcame them to establish your foothold in the import-export sector?
So when I joined the industry, it was quite a different kind of an industry. You see, today the industry is completely different. Today we have big companies, very organized, very sustainable, very ecological conscious, the way we are. A lot of such companies. But in those days, it was predominantly, I used to do about 30 factories between Harbour, Central and Western, end to end of Bombay. You know what that can mean. True. Borivali to Churchgate, from Harbour Line, from Kurla, Bhandup and Mankhurd to VT, and things like that. Very unorganized factories in those periods. True. Then the industry became quite different over a period of years in a very different way. It became modern, it became more sustainable, it became more conscious about what we are doing. Right. So there is a huge journey going between the years.
Absolutely. True.
I used to, in fact, do about 30 factories I used to visit as a quality controller. I used to work about 16 hours a day, 362 days a year.
Wow. That is some commitment.
That was something different.
Exactly. True. And you're right. Back then, it was only mills around everywhere, and especially in the zones that you mentioned.
And the mills were the thing is, the mills were shutting down that particular period. So it was an era when the mills were not doing so well,
Right.
and they wanted to change what they do, or they were moving out of Bombay.
Correct.
And I did not want to relocate myself somewhere else. So I wanted to stay back in Bombay.
Right. True. True. Interesting. Now, your journey of several decades, can you highlight any specific milestones that marked significant turning points in your career where you realized you were on the path to becoming a leader in the field?
Uh, the first few years were very transitional in a way that everything happened and the industry was also changing very rapidly.
Okay.
So, first, like I said, we were not conscious about what we were doing. We did not care कि dye stuffs क्या होते हैं. We did not care what kind of labor arrangements we have. We did not care of how the factories are and things
Right.
like that. So those milestones started coming in over a period of time, and then you started thinking about ISO 9001, ISO
Right.
14001. You started thinking of SA 8000, which is the social compliance. You started thinking about ecological consciousness. So you had Ecotex labels and things like that. So all those milestones, all those certification processes came one by one as the requirement of the customers changed, and we started learning new things from them.
Right.
Our teacher was our customer,
Absolutely.
and we started changing the industry that way.
True. Interesting. So, Vipul, just to take you back a little, what was that, the point where you were convinced that you need to start your own
I'll give you that.
organization?
So I worked very hard for the first 10 years. And somewhere back in my mind, we had nobody doing business in our family.
Right.
And then Pratiksha was expecting Dhriti, our daughter.
Okay.
So that was the time when I thought that if I don't quit my job now, then I would probably never be able to take the courage and take the plunge and have the courage to quit my job.
True.
So that was the time when we were expecting our daughter to be born.
Okay.
I thought that I would quit my job and start my business. And with absolutely very clear ideology that I did not want to take anything from my ex-employer. So that means no staff, no clients, no customers, no suppliers, and I had to start completely at scratch.
Right.
And we had no money in our pocket because we had some situations. And I asked my wife Pratiksha that can I do this? She says, if you can earn 2,000 rupees a month, we can survive, because that is what we have survived.
Right.
When we had a bad situation in family. We had some medical history there.
Right.
So if you can earn that much, then go ahead and do it. And I did it. Some kind of courage that was.
Yeah, and
if you ask me today, I probably would not be that courageous.
Yeah.
But that was some courage and some conviction which I had.
It sounds scary for me to listen to it right now, because at that moment in your life when you're you're going to.
So I was earning 10,000 rupees a month, and 8,000 was spent on my dad's dialysis, and we lost him just in that particular year when she was about to be born. Our daughter was about to be born.
Right.
So then we were just surviving, a family of 8 surviving on 2,000 rupees. Of course, it's 2,000 of today is a lot different than what it was in 1993,
Right.
1994. So it was quite a plunge actually. But it was scary, but we did it.
So, when you started that, what was your state of mind, at this juncture where your wife is going to deliver and you had so much to take care of?
I think when you're young, you're also stupid.
True.
So it's easier to do what you do. Probably today, if someone says that drop everything and do. Plus, I was convinced of one particular factor, that I had enough experience, enough knowledge of the industry. Of course, I was horribly wrong, because in the next 30 years, I learned much more than what I knew in the first 10 years. But at that particular time, I was convinced that I know what I know, and it's enough for me.
True. So, Vipul, back then when you thought of starting off on your own, and if we talk about today's times where startup founders, they have data points, they have validation, they have market study and all of that. That didn't really exist back then.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. The cultural difference between what businesses are today and what it used to be.
Right.
So we always used to look what is the profitability and how much we can make money out of a business. That is the basic difference. And today you are looking at how much money I can burn in this business
Right.
to get established. So the cultural differences between how a business was operated then
Right.
and what it is now, including our own company Silvertrack, is completely different. There, I remember after the first few months of operation, me and my brother sat together on 31st of March and said, okay, we made so much of profit.
Right.
Today, you probably can never think about that. You probably would think how much money I have burned and what is my acquisition today, my customer acquisition today, what is my other statistics. But you are never talking about profit in the first year whatsoever. So it is completely different. Of course, and there was no internet.
Right.
So it was everything by way of communication, connections, your knowledge. There was nothing to research about.
True.
So businesses were a lot more different than what they are today.
It was a pure gut decision that
is.
This is what I want to do and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And interesting. Great. Now, for someone who's spent around for 4 decades in the industry, what advice would you offer to individuals who are just starting their careers in the import and export industry, based on the learnings you've had?
So I come across a lot of people, and I'm a little bit actually not disappointed. I would say that they equate the time spent to the money earned.
Right.
I probably think that the first few years in your career are not devoted to earn money. The first few years of your career are devoted to earn experience, get insights of what you're doing.
Right.
And that is the difference between the two, that you cannot really think that I would just do this much and not beyond that. Because then you would not learn, you would not gain knowledge which you require in your later years. It's what you earn in the beginning is sufficient for you when you are a youngster, when you're just beginning your career, you are like just out of your college. But in long run, it's the experience and the insight which is more important.
True.
So I would say devote as much time as possible in whatever you're doing and do it very diligently.
True. Now, in your role as the CEO and MD at Qualiance, can you give us some examples of strategic decisions or initiatives that played a crucial role in your company's success? And how has your leadership evolved to meet the changing demands of the current industry?
When we started business, I'll just give you a little bit of hint that when we started business, we started working with several. First of all, the company itself was based on a particular thought process.
Right.
When you say Qualiance, it is Alliance of Quality and Reliance.
True.
That was the concept. And though we did not have enough knowledge of how to attain quality, we at least had the mindset to do it, which was very important. And then we started working with several brand label companies in Europe, predominantly children wear. Over a period of time, we realized that the children wear business died out because the discount stores started taking in. It's like the discount store, people don't want to spend, first of all, on children clothing.
Right.
They're expensive, they outgrow. And the discount stores started doing a lot of thriving business of children wear articles, where the mothers can come in on weekend, buy clothes for children, but buy everything else required for the house.
Okay.
All the groceries, everything. So the children wear business died out. But it was that particular time we decided what we need to do. And luckily we got an entry to the Swiss Army business at that particular time.
Interesting.
So we started developing samples for them. So they started liking our attitude in terms of quality, because Swiss is like very exacting standards.
True.
They need everything precise, everything done absolutely defined way mein. So they started liking us. We started growing business, but that was a defining moment that we started working with them. That changed our business, and we learned a huge amount of things about quality from them. And then came the compliances, which we learned from them. So that particular moment, I would say that when we started working with Swiss Army, was a turning moment for us in understanding what else we can do in high quality.
True.
and how we can achieve high quality.
Interesting. And how many years of operations, being in operations, did you crack the Swiss business?
I think we were on like fourth or fifth year of business probably at that
Okay.
particular time.
And that pivoted
Yeah,
everything the way
that
you do.
pivoted what. Also, our mindset we gained a lot of knowledge. That was more important. There was a mindset, but there were no tools like we discussed earlier. There were no tools available to find out what all can be done. But we learned from them quite a lot
And
of
I'm
things.
sure everything had to be learned on the go.
Yeah,
There was, like you
everything.
mentioned, nothing to fall back to, no Google or anything back then. Interesting. Right. Coming to Qualiance International and of course Silvertrack is what we're going to speak about in this particular section. Now, Qualiance has had a remarkable journey and is in the process of it, manufacturing high-performance woven and knitted garments since its inception in '94. Can you provide a deeper insights into the company's core values and mission that have guided you so far?
So, like I said, the core value is defined by the name itself: quality and reliance.
Right.
That is the basis of it. Then, over the period of time, we learned the ecological consciousness, which came about in the year of 90s when we started thinking about it, that what kind of dye stuffs we use, what kind of chemicals we use, how much we are damaging the ecology while dyeing a fabric, in processing a fabric. Then, of course, came the social sustainable part, that the minimum wages have to be covered, the working conditions have to be good, and the working environment has to be safe. All that came. So the learning process, and then of course, how do you say that? Okay, you can not just say that I'm a good factory.
True.
You have to get it certified from that angle.
Right.
So all the certifications came one by one, and we learned the process. How to be more strict on our own self was also very important.
True. True.
It's very easy to digress from what is your thought process when there are shortcuts available.
True.
But then
it's very tempting
it's
also.
very tempting.
True. True. Now, Vipul, correct me if I'm wrong. I think early 90s was the time where textile as an industry in Mumbai specifically was fading out.
Absolutely.
And people were shifting outside,
Correct.
Tirupur being one of the main destinations and some other areas down south. What motivated you to still be in the business at that time?
See, I would say, like you mentioned the word Tirupur, I started visiting Tirupur in the year of 1984-85 when I was working for someone else.
Okay.
And one thing which we realized about Tirupur is that it's a magic city.
Okay.
So Bombay, if you have a breakdown of machine and you call a mechanic to come and fix it, he probably will take 3 days to come to you. Bombay distances are so much. They were always that way in Bombay.
True. Back then, of course.
The labor is not organized. So here, labor can either work in garment industry or can work in a shop, can do everything. But Tirupur is a 5 kilometers radius small city or town or whatever you would want to call. In those days, we would rather call it as a village.
Yes.
And everything was available. So practically, everybody in that particular city is employed and linked with the clothing industry. The expertise which is available is brilliant. And that kept me in the loop because I was very happy working from there. We could do good amount of business from there. It was easy to, once you know exactly what you want to do, it was easy to get it done.
Okay.
You have to, of course, navigate. You had to teach people what do you want because you're trying to do something different. Like Tirupur is predominantly a knitwear industry.
Right.
It's also known as Banyan City. All the underwears which we wear, the undergarments which we wear are probably made in Tirupur.
Right.
But we came in over there and we explored the possibility of making woven garments over there. And we were successful because we had an idea of how to get it done and what we want to get it done. So our expertise of Bombay worked in a different way in Tirupur. And it was easier for us to remain in the business because when the business was fading out in Bombay, we were not averse to be in Tirupur.
Right.
So that was one of the major decisions which we took, that okay, we want to make that as our manufacturing hub by understanding the potential of that city.
True.
So even if a machine breaks down, in 2 hours time a mechanic comes and repairs a spare part is missing, he would go and make that on a lathe machine and bring it and plug it in the machine. They're that good.
Interesting. I mean, so everything, 5 kilometer city, everything available, with
Everything.
a phone call. And
It's one of the rare cities where you won't see beggars on the street, for example.
That's interesting.
Quite nice.
True. And how big is Qualiance today from where it started to now?
I don't know whether we would like to call ourselves as big, but okay, we have grown substantially in the past few years. One of the reasons is that we also established a factory in the year 2017 in Tirupur.
Okay.
So first we were outsourcing our production in a collaboration manner where someone was exclusively working for us and we were exclusively working with him or with that
like
factory.
A contract manufacturing.
Like a contract manufacturing. But in 2017, we got into our own manufacturing and we have grown. But of course, we had the setback. Everybody knows what COVID did to everyone.
True.
But we are growing there and we have a workforce of about 300 people working today with us.
Right. Across Qualiance or just the factory?
Just the factory. Okay. And in Bombay, we are about 25 strong team.
Right. So 300 to 350 odd is what your strength is.
That's what we have.
Interesting. And what's the future plan?
We are looking at, so we have Silvertrack, which is doing pretty well. So we are looking at expanding that production capacity. We are looking at bigger production capacities also in Qualiance. So maybe another factory in pipeline for all you know. We're yet to freeze on several things, but that could be a possibility that we increase our production capacity and double it.
True. Now, Qualiance is involved in developing and sourcing accessories and fabrics from raw material to finished products. Could you provide insights into the collaborations and innovations in the garment spectrum that the company has been a part of?
So we have a huge amount of supplier base all over the world. So normally, most of the Indian companies which are manufacturing rely on supply base in India or in Far East. But we have a huge supply base also in Europe because we look at very high quality accessories over there. And also the fabric supplies come partly from Europe, partly from Far East, and partly, of course, manufactured in India. So we have developed a good amount of supplier source, because we are into a very high profile collection. So we make bonded garments, we make seam sealed garments. Bonded garments are basically, you don't have any sewing, you actually bond the fabrics together.
Oh, interesting.
So there is no sewing element over there, or part of the garment is bonded. So we do that. We have garments which are worn in minus 30 degrees, minus 20 degrees. So we have a lot of technological products in our portfolio. And for that, we look around everywhere for the highest grade of material available.
Okay. Talking about Silvertrack, could you give us an idea of what Silvertrack is all about?
So, the next change with Dhriti got in our life, our daughter, is she wanted to join business, and we thought, what do we do? It's me in the business, my brother is in business, and my brother's son is also in business. So together with us. So we thought, let's do something different to expand our capabilities. And then, of course, I always dreamt that someday I would have a domestic line in India. And Silvertrack was born when Dhriti joined, because we had a spare hand to look at the business, and also she was the right kind of a person who knew what that generation of people need. So that's how Silvertrack was born, and then of course we all grew it together.
Absolutely. Okay. Any significant achievements or milestone that Silvertrack has achieved in its short existence? How has it contributed to the overall growth?
So Silvertrack, we would say that we are very happy about the fact that from the COVID period till now, it has multiplied about 4x in terms of turnover. and we are looking at a very huge rise of turnover in the coming days, because there are lots of plans in the offing, lots of ideas which are afloat at the moment and being implemented. So we are looking at quite a few, and proudly enough, Silvertrack is one of those brands which has done exceptionally well in terms of retaining its customer.
Okay.
Today, that is one of the biggest challenge of all the brands, of how to retain your customer and how to have them bring you to reorder your merchandise.
Right.
That is one of the biggest challenge, and Silvertrack is very successful in that. So we are very
So
happy
is Silvertrack on the manufacturing side of things or on the retail?
on the marketing side of things. So Silvertrack buys everything is manufactured in Qualiance factory, and Silvertrack markets and retails.
Okay, interesting. So
But it's at the moment only a D2C brand. Of course, we have plans to expand that further.
I'm sure. So, can you give us a little more in-depth insight into what does Silvertrack do? What kind of materials or?
So at the moment, Silvertrack is predominantly doing is what we call as athleisure. So that means they are doing sportswear, they are doing some loungewear. But our focus in Silvertrack is always that how to make sustainable garments.
Okay.
So there also we are moving quite a few of recycled polyester, for example. We are doing natural fibers like bamboo, cotton, together. So the focus is again over there, the high quality at a good affordable price. It may not be very cheap, but the quality which we have maintained is can command that kind of pricing.
Interesting. So is it white labeling as well? Or
at the moment, we are not doing white labeling in Silvertrack.
Not at all. So you're providing your products directly to end consumers, or is it B2B?
No, it's always end consumer. So it's a D2C brand. We have, and unlike most of the brands, 80 to 90% of our business comes off our own website, which is silvertrack.com.
Okay.
Otherwise, most of the players are doing on Myntra or Ajio or Tata Click or things like that. We are present over there, but our business,
the main
traction is from our own website.
All right. And what sort of consumers is the focus on?
So basically, between 20 to 35 is one of the prime focus.
Okay.
And at the moment, Silvertrack is only women wear, but when it expands, then it would also do menswear.
Interesting. Well, great to know. And I'm sure you have the pipeline figured out for the next couple of years.
The team is buzzing. Silvertrack team is buzzing. They have already started accessories like bags. Like they would start very soon with mats and other accessories like bottles and things like that.
True.
And bags is doing very well at the moment. So.
Right. You mentioned of you're also using new products such as bamboo and cotton.
Yeah.
How has the world caught up, or how new is this?
This is not very new, but still people are yet to catch up with it that largely. But there is, of course, a very niche market, people who understand what it is. And when you wear, the comfort is very visible. So it's not just the idea of having a product just for the sake of name, but when you actually wear, you find the comfort and you feel that you want to repeat it.
Right.
So that's the good part of it.
Interesting. So new concepts. And so, Silvertrack, of course, your daughter handling it. So the approach versus your approach, are there differences?
No, I think Dhriti has been, in our family, Dhriti and my nephew Bhumin, we all have had, since they were children, we had discussions of business at dining table. So I think we are very tuned with each other that way. There's no difference from the generation to generation.
True.
They know exactly, and I understand exactly what they intend to do.
Right.
So we are in sync.
True. And plus, I mean, you come with so much of experience. So your helping hand is always hammering the path to be on the right way, I suppose.
So that is they can handle the front end of it. The back end is
where you come in.
Where I come in picture.
Interesting. So it's a wonderful combination.
Yeah, it is a very wonderful. So from one-man show to now a good team of 3 people doing the business. It's quite
and having come being ground up. So I think It's the best combination a business could have. True. Interesting. Great. Coming to the third part of this interview, where we're talking about the industry in general, right? So, how would you describe the current size and the significance of the import-export industry on a global scale right now, especially of how India is poised in the export-import industry?
Um, so one of the biggest players of the garment exporting industry is China, of course.
Right.
But what is interesting from India's point of view, that there is a lot of interest in India's manufacturing capacity post-COVID.
Right.
So when we talk about Make in India projects, um, there are people, when I travel to Europe and I travel other countries, I see a lot of new kind of interest. People look towards India with expectation that here I can find a replacement of
Everything
my
that's made in
production
China.
capacity, which is made in China or the other Far East countries. So from that sense, India has got great future, and of course the industry may be shrinking otherwise globally, but still the interest in India is very high.
Right.
And if you Indian manufacturers, if they play their cards well, probably they would do much better.
Interesting. What are the current challenges in this industry, and how do you see these challenges evolving in the future?
So one of the challenges, of course, freight corridor, that the cost in between about a year and a half, 2 years back, we had massive problems in container movements and cost of freight per container and per CBM and things like that. Also, the freight, if you're door delivering customers, the freight has become very expensive,
True.
even in countries like Europe and USA. Besides that, the other challenge would be that we do not have enough good accessory suppliers or high-end fabric supplies, like what is required in minus 30 degrees, minus 20 degrees. So people know of the technology, but people have not invested in India in terms of making those kind of products, the raw material of high end. So one is the basic t-shirt, where you make t-shirts and you sell to everyone, or make formal shirt or make a formal trouser. But the outdoor industry, the athletic industry requires certain kinds of products. Say nylon is a very important product in sportswear.
Right.
But we do not have in India sufficient capacity and good capacity available to dye nylon, to knit nylon, to make woven nylon fabric. So it's kind of a place where we lag, and probably we hope that in the coming years we are able to plug in that too.
Right. Well, that is the first for me. So, any reason you think that we've not excelled in the nylon category, per se?
Probably the India has been very predominant polyester player.
Yes.
And we concentrated something in polyester and cotton too much, and we ignored nylon, is probably my guess. It is again a synthetic fabric, a synthetic fiber, and if there are people who are exploring, that is quite possible. But surprisingly, India does not have good facilities to manufacture nylon, and that is quite a important fiber substrate in outdoor industry fabrics and in sports industry, sportswear industry.
True, true. So, Vipul, in fact, there are some, say in the market that nylon is not good for the human body. Is that true?
That is also there. So, now the choice is whether you want to really invest into that kind of a product. But the fact of life is that at the moment, all your major outdoor garments which you wear in minus 30 degrees, minus 20 degrees does have nylon.
Right.
So,
and I think the world's known brands like Nike or Adidas or Reeboks and all, they're all using it.
Everybody.
And they're heavy on nylon.
Everybody is using it.
Yes.
Of course, polyester is also equally large.
Right.
But certain kind of compressions which nylon can give, you cannot have in polyester. But again, the thing is over here that you're looking at what could be recycled, what could be reused, what could be. So the consciousness is completely different.
The sustainability
points are coming in.
True, true. Now, in what ways has the government interventions and policies played a role in uplifting or influencing the import-export industry?
So I would say specifically in the COVID period, the government supported not just garment industry but every industry quite well.
Okay.
So the COVID loans which were distributed twice or thrice in that particular period were very helpful to plug in to bridge the funds flow which we required.
Right.
So that was quite important from that sense. Also, there are new schemes where you are actually more for larger industries where you are investing and you get benefits out of it.
Right.
But probably a little more should be done for the smaller and medium industries. Let's hope that way.
Sure, sure. Interesting. True. Okay. Now, any insights on maintaining a balance between industry growth and sustainability, particularly in the context of Qualiance International's commitment to social and environmental practices?
So I would say we would not want to talk about maintaining a balance. I think to be absolutely socially compliant and to be absolutely environmental conscious is the need of the hour. Because if you are looking at, especially for Qualiance, if you are looking at the kind of customer base which we have, the Swiss Army, the Swiss Railways, the Swiss Police Department or the Customs Department, or our other customers in USA, UK, everybody looks at us because we are sustainable, we are ecological conscious, we are taking good care of our staff, our labor welfare schemes are good enough. And I think there are no balances, no compromises from that sense. Whatever could be done should be done.
True.
And then the other part. So there are enough customers, as far as we are concerned, there are enough customers who would appreciate what we do and give us business irrespective. So we do not try to maintain a balance. Whatever good we can do. So we are like at the moment planning, we are not yet 100% solar. We have solar power, but we intend to do that we get near 100, if not 100, in terms of our power generation, for example.
Right.
So for us, that is a must. And time and again, we are reminded by our customer that whatever improvements you could do, you should do.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So what you're saying is that customers just don't want your product, but they're also looking into,
of course, absolutely,
the
absolutely,
holistic part of the business.
absolutely. So they insist on, of course, we have certification, and they all insist on certifications. They all insist on various kinds of audits, because a good responsible company, a brand label or a government agency, they are also answerable to their stakeholders, their customers, their investors, their bankers, their people, like in government of Switzerland, people of Switzerland. So everybody is answerable to other people.
Right.
So it's not just that the customer has that idea, but down the line, that whole chain is existing now, that everybody thinks about it that way.
Right. It's become a way of life, in essence.
Yeah, you could say that way.
True. Now, what notable trends or innovations are currently shaping the industry, and how do you see these trends impacting business in this sector?
So I would like, we discussed sustainable fabrics, like how we can expand bamboos, for example. So I'm talking typically for our garment industry and not for other industries.
Right.
So sustainable fabrics is very interesting for people. The other trend, which is that people are also now conscious about how close your supply chain is to your market.
Right.
Because a lot of fuel is being wasted, lot of so then the advantage to the business houses is also that they get shorter lead time, for example, because your supply chain is closer to. But having said that, even within India, there is a huge market, and a lot of Indian brands, in fact, our competitors rely heavily on garments being manufactured in Far East and other places, or like in Sri Lanka and other places. But we insist on manufacturing our clothing ourselves. I think that would be a very good advantage for us in future, because we are very close to our market. As far as Silvertrack is concerned, we are able to do a shorter run, a shorter turnaround, and we are able to adapt and adjust to new fashions very quickly.
True.
That would shape up Silvertrack very well.
Right. Right. Interesting. So, you have the wholesale or the large manufacturing
Yeah.
front, and then you have
Yeah,
a direct
this-
consumer
yeah.
front. So that gives you great insights
Yeah.
into the business in general. Interesting. Um, Now, how you've been in the industry and you've been doing this for the last 4 decades. How do you believe?
I would like to say that little less than 4 decades. You scare me whenever you
Well,
use
it
that
is.
word.
I think I
4 decades.
I think I need to give it its due.
There is still 1 year to go.
Yeah, 39 is for 40 years. Okay.
Like I feel very old when you say that. So I would rather.
Yeah, but you don't seem old. If
I
that's
would
a
rather
physical
feel very
consideration.
young.
Okay, so I'll put it this way: being a leader in the industry, now, how do you believe companies can navigate the complex landscape of international trade? It wasn't easier back then. I don't know how easy or difficult it is. But what strategies do you consider essential for long-term success, in the international front of business?
So again, we will come back to the same thing that the industry. The way I have seen since last almost 4 decades is that it is an ever-changing industry, and always every year we find something new to be adapted to.
Okay.
Whether it is technology, whether it is sustainability, whether it is new fibers like lyocell coming up, or a lot of things keep on happening in the industry, and the industry leader typically keeps on bringing, and the people are made to follow. Of course, there are very good points also when somebody innovates something and brings to the table and brings to the market.
Right.
And for anyone to survive well in the industry, we have to adapt to these changes.
True.
Unless we are able to adapt to these ever-changing conditions, ever-changing requirements, fashion itself is ever-changing. There's nothing repeated. What you saw 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years is completely different than what you see today.
True.
And in the same way, the conditions, the kind of fibers, the kind of fabrics, kind of manufacturing technologies, they keep on changing.
True.
And we need to adapt to that. So, like a lot of undergarments for women are stitched, but you would see very shortly a lot of undergarments for women which are not stitched but are bonded, are with two fabrics are bonded together with silicone or different kinds of glue.
Right.
And that's like there is no sewing involved. So these changes are to be adapted upon. So unless you are able to do that, you probably would feel phased out.
True. Interesting. Well, I think that's a norm for any industry. Otherwise, we'd be a Kodak or a Nokia.
Yeah,
You know,
and we have seen
the fates of those
we have
companies.
seen the instant cameras dying out.
Exactly. True. Well, thank you so much for sharing about the industry. Now, we'd like to know Vipul Badani as the person that he is, right?
Okay.
So, on a lighter note, of course, just random things that you do as an individual. What is the first thing you do the moment you enter your office?
Just edit this part because my staff shouldn't be hearing what I do. I check my social media. The first thing when I enter the office, that's what I look at.
Catch up
with what was there on my Instagram or my Facebook or my WhatsApp or whatever.
Right.
But okay, on a little serious note, I don't like my inbox being full. So my inbox is always cleared the moment I come in.
Okay.
I never want a pending email lying in my inbox.
Right.
I see some people, hundreds of emails lying over there, but I want it clean and without any emails lying in the inbox. So what I do is I clear my inbox after clearing my social media chats.
Okay. Interesting. What is the one thing you like the most and least about your job?
One thing most I like is probably the changes of fashion and technology and learning about it.
Okay.
And what I like least is to implement those changes. So they are very expensive changes at times.
Right.
So probably, we all love to do something new, but at the same time, the cost of doing something new is also very heavy.
True.
And it's also a very time-taking process. Not like you cannot do anything by snap of your fingers.
Right.
So probably it's not that I don't like it, but it's there are implications to it.
To it. Absolutely. I completely understand. Now, what were you paid in your very first job, your first salary?
I was in 1984 when I joined. I was given a salary. I was confirmed with a salary of 400 rupees a month.
Wow.
But when the accountant was writing the paycheck and asked my boss how much is to be paid to Vipul, he said he was confirmed at 400, but you can pay him 500 rupees a month.
Wow.
So my first raise I got without getting my first salary.
That's interesting. And 500 bucks was,
Yeah, I was very happy.
and it had a lot of value.
It had a lot of value, of course.
So 500 rupees. Great. What has been your biggest strength and weakness in all these years?
My biggest strength is I'm very, how do you say, organized in whatever I do.
Okay.
But my weakness is sometimes I've made impulsive decisions which have costed me quite dearly.
Wow.
So,
But I'm sure that's been a learning as well.
That's part and parcel. No regrets about them, but probably on hindsight, whenever I think, I said, okay, I should have done this a little differently.
Right. True. Okay. What makes you happy?
When I see people happy around me.
Okay.
Easiest thing to do, even work culture or friends or
Right.
whatever, of course. And then, of course, lots of other things. I love poetry. I'm happy when I'm listening to music. I'm happy when I'm looking at a sunset. There are lots of things which make my life happy. Can't pinpoint to a single thing, but generally, when people around you are happy, you're happy.
You are happy. True. Yeah, it's infectious. True. Great. The next part is the rapid fire round.
Oh.
Quick one-word answers, and I'm going to throw them rapidly to you. Describe yourself in one word.
Calm, composed.
Okay. Describe what work or a job means to you in one word.
Dedication.
Okay. Your favorite destination.
Copenhagen, Denmark.
Okay. Favorite quote, if any.
I don't know how exactly I like this, but what I always believe is that change if you need to change, and adapt if you cannot change.
Okay.
So that is quite
Profound.
important, and that is something which I've followed all my life.
Right. I think that's the result.
Yeah.
Which is true. What do you splurge on?
I'm guilty of lot many things. So,
The top.
okay, clothes probably.
Being in the clothes industry. Okay. Great. Are you a fitness-oriented person?
I would like to answer that as yes, but the answer is no.
Okay. If not the professional career, where would you have been?
I would probably be an architect, an
architect.
interior designer.
Okay. Was that an option back then?
No,
when
I
you
never
started?
had that option. But over the period of years, whenever I made a house or an office or my factory,
Right.
I took very active participation, and I was lucky enough to do quite a few things myself.
It fascinates you.
Yeah, it fascinates me, it challenges me, and I'm very happy doing it. I mean, today also, if someone says, if you want to get your house done, you can invite me and I'll do it for free.
Definitely. Definitely. One love.
Poetry.
Okay. One thing left to do.
Maybe publish book of my poems.
Oh, that would definitely be a great one. Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Vipul. It's been a great conversation with you and an insightful one. On an ending note, any particular message you would have for our students at Welingkar Institute, who are freshers and mid-career professionals, what advice would you give to them?
I would just say that do everything very diligently, probably, and devote your time in, like I said earlier, devote your time in getting experiences and insights of whatever industry you have selected to be.
Right.
Quite important for your later part of your career. First few years, you may not seem to be understanding that part of it, but quite important. And if you ever start business, then think that there are three parts of business: sales, marketing, and production. Ensure that you know at least two of them by virtue of your experience.
Right.
And the third one can be explored. And of course, the most important part, I would say, if you want to really understand business, understand the finances, from where the money comes and how much money is retained in your work.
Right.
If you understand that, you will understand everything of how a business functions. It's probably, I would say.
True. Great. Well, thank you. Vipul.
Thank you, Roshan,
It's
for
been a
coming
great
up.
one. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.